Hi guys, Deborah from Housewife Eclectic here. I know we're doing things a little bit different today. You can kind of tell that I'm in my car. It's aquarium day at our house, so the kids are inside the aquarium with their grandparents right now, and I am here to do this live with you, and then I'm going to go pop back in and be with them. So I know, a little bit different. We're in the car. We're not making something today. Today we're going to talk books, which I'm super excited about because normally when I talk books, I have someone with me. I have my husband, or I have my one of my friends or my daughter here with me. So today I'm going to talk books all by myself, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to tell you about my favorite YA books, and so I'm super excited because these are all books that I love. These are all fantastic books with great plots and great characters, you know. So this is going to be fun. Sorry I'm in my car, guys. Those of you that are just joining us, we are actually at the aquarium today. And I didn't want to miss the aquarium with my kids. So they're inside with Grandma and Grandpa. I was inside with them earlier, and I came out to do my live, and then I'll go back in with them. So that's why we're, you know, in the car. So we are going to talk. I, you know, was a little bit worried to not have someone to bounce ideas off of. Man. So I'm going to talk my very, very, very favorite books with you. So we'll see how that goes. I'll go ahead and get started. There's a wide variety here. Some fantasy, some contemporary, some romance, a little bit of everything. So you can kind of, you know, have a lot that you can see. Let me see how do I have to do the little magic wand? Nope. I don't know how to do it, guys, so it's going to be backwards. Sorry. If I go like this, will it? Nope. Then you get to see the cool little thing on my car. You know what, Clark? I have this, hi, Missy. It's good to see you. I have to, we're like set up with a schedule where I've agreed to do these lives on Mama Loves Food or Spaceships and Laser Beams, and this is my scheduled time. So definitely didn't want to miss my kids at the aquarium, so I'm here doing it in a parking lot. So the first book I'm going to talk to you about today is called Anna and the French Kiss, and it's by Stephanie Perkins, which is like seriously, she's seriously like the cutest author ever. She usually has like pink or blue hair, and anyway, so she's super cute. But she writes those like super, I'm trying to think of the word, like those books that make you feel kind of like, I don't know, that give you those fluttery butterflies inside. She writes a lot of those type of books, which I love. So if you're into romance at all, this is definitely contemporary. So Anna and the French Kiss is the first of a set of 3. And she, Anna she's like from Georgia or something, and her parents make her go to a boarding school in Paris for her senior year. And she's all upset about it, and then she meets this super cute French guy at the school, and, you know, things kind of just go off from there. So I would tell you his name, but I can't pronounce it. Is that sad that I can't pronounce this? Let me see if I can fix that a little bit. Is that a little better? Yeah, that seems a little better. So there are, this is actually not my favorite in the series. It's a trilogy, and they're all about different characters, but each book has the previous characters in it. So this one is about Anna, and then the next one is Lola and the Boy Next Door, which is actually my favorite because I think Lola is like my spirit animal. She's like this crazy, you know, likes to dress funky and, you know, whatever kind of person. And then the last one is Isla and the Happily Ever After, which is also good. It's not, I think the first 2 are better, but it's a great one. So this one's super good if you love romances or contemporary fiction. I think this is one that you would love. So this next one is Pivot Point. It's a little bit of science fiction, which is super fun. It's about this girl named Addison, and she has like a special ability. She is what's called a searcher, so she can sit at like one point in her life and just, you know, think about a decision and then see forward from those two decisions what would happen. So her parents are getting a divorce, and she's given the option to live with her mom or dad. So using her ability, she sits at this point, and she looks forward 6 weeks into the future to see what happens if she lives with her mom, or sees what happens if she lives with her dad. So the biggest thing is if she stays with her mom, she'll stay on this compound with all of the other people with abilities. If she goes with her dad, she'll be out in like the normal world. So it doesn't seem like that big of a decision, but she goes forward 6 weeks in the future, and she sees how much changes either way. So what's always, I think, so fascinating about this book is that she goes forward the 6 weeks, and you like actually live that 6 weeks with her. So you live the 6 weeks one way, and then you live the 6 weeks the other way, and then at the very end, like, you feel like she's lived this time, and she like wakes up, you know. So that's, you know, it's interesting, and so you get to see how she's, you know, which one she's going to choose and things like that. So this one is by Cassie West. I actually adore Cassie West. I've literally read everything that she's written, but I think this one is probably the most would be most widely loved, I think. So super fun, a little bit science fiction, you know, a little bit of romance, not too much, but a little bit, but lots of cool abilities and things like that. So I really like that one. Most of her other ones don't have abilities or anything in them. They're just contemporary romances. Okay, so let me find something that's not a contemporary romance here for you. Ooh, this is a good one. I don't know, have you guys, well, you guys that are just popping in, tell me where you're tuning in from. I'm sitting in the parking lot at the aquarium. Kind of crazy. And I'm talking to you about my favorite YA books. So I read a lot. I tend to read 2 to 3 books a week. I can read about a book a day, but you know, then my kids start feeling neglected. So I read 2 to 3 books a week. My husband's also an avid reader. He reads. He doesn't read as many books as I do a week, but he reads longer books than I do. So he's all about, like, he just finished like the 6 volumes of Winston Churchill's you know, not biography, description of World War II. So that's the kind of stuff he reads, and I read a lot more YA. So this one is by Rae Carson. I did not expect to like this book at all. It's about this girl. She becomes a queen it's not a spoiler to say she gets married and becomes a queen, because it happens in like the first 2 chapters. So she becomes she's kind of young, kind of pudgy, kind of, you know, doesn't like, her sister's amazing. Like, her sister can do everything, and she's just kind of seen as this, like, you know, extra. She doesn't really have anything going on for her. So she's a princess, but she was born with what's called a godstone, which is like this like gem in her belly button, basically. And it basically means that she's someone really important, and she's going to do something really important. But she's like not important, you know. She hasn't you know, she's a princess, but she hasn't done anything. She doesn't do anything important. She doesn't really, you know, there's like really nothing special about her except this godstone. So she knows she's supposed to do something important, but she doesn't know what that is. So in the very beginning of the book, she's married off to this king across the way across the land, and it kind of like her. She's eventually, very soon into the book, so I don't feel like this is too spoilery, she's kidnapped and, you know, taken away and everything. And so she kind of has to come into her own and figure out what the greatness is that she was born to do and stuff like that. And so I adored this book because, you know, she kept feeling like, you know, maybe saving this country is her greatness and stuff like that. And so she, you know, tries to do all of this stuff, and it turns out the thing that she was born to do is completely different, but she also becomes, you know, this really, like, fantastic person just by trying really hard. So I feel like, I don't know. And also, seriously, she's probably one of my very favorite main characters. She's, I feel like, you know, even though it takes place in like a way different kind of land than what we live in, and I also think she's a little bit more realistic, where, you know, that, you know, that being awesome is kind of hard, and so she has to work hard and, you know, kind of become what she, you know, she's not, a lot of times I feel like in YA we read these books and the main character is already amazing, you know, like they already can do anything they need to do, and that's not the case with this book. I feel like she's more like a normal person who works hard to do what she needs to do. So that one is Girl of Fire and Thrones by Rae Carson. It is a trilogy. All three are fantastic. I loved this set. This one is a popular one that I think a lot of people have read, so it's kind of a fun one to talk about. This is the Selection series. It's a series of 5 books. The first 3 are about America. Yeah, her name's America. Kind of fun. The first 3 about America, and then the next 2 are about her daughter. I will be like totally upfront with you. I've read the first 3 that are about America. I've read the 4th one, but I haven't read the 5th one yet. It's on my list to do, but I haven't gotten to it yet. This one is so fun because they are like, all the girls like have to put forth their application to be in the selection, and then 35 girls from around the area are picked to be in the selection, and then basically they're in like a competition, almost like the Bachelor kind of competition for the prince's heart. So there are it's, you know, kind of dystopian. There's all these caste systems where like people are broken down into socioeconomic classes, and they're not really allowed to like mingle, or they don't really mingle. So while it is kind of a romance and dystopian type thing, what I really loved about this one is that it has so much depth with the caste systems and things like that. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Have you guys read this one? This one seems to be a really popular one that a lot of people have read. So it's a great one. I really like I also really like the way the author like spins you around a little bit, because in the beginning you are so sure you want America to end up with, you know, this one person or to do this one thing, and, you know, and then she's able to really grow the character and things like that. So that's a great one. So that's the Selection series. So there are 5 in that one, and then I think there are a bunch of novellas in that one. So this is actually one I don't know that a lot of you guys have heard about. It's kind of a more of like a cult classic. Maybe not, that's not the right word for it. A hidden gem is the word that I want to use. So is this called Ivory and Bone? It is by I don't know how to say your last name, guys. Julie so-and-so. And this is what I love about this one. It's supposed to be a Pride and Prejudice retelling. And I think it does do a good job of that. The gender roles are flipped, so the girl is like the Mr. Darcy character, and the man is the Elizabeth Bennet character. But what's so fun about this one is it's prehistoric. So they're like hunting mammoths and like living in camps and all this stuff. So it had lots of fun twists and turns. I mean, it is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, so as soon as you kind of figure out which character is what, you can kind of like guess the story a little bit. But it took me a little while to actually figure out that the girl is the Mr. Darcy character versus the other way around. Yeah, this is a fantastic one. I definitely think you should read it. I haven't heard that much buzz about it, which surprises me a little bit, because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the classic Pride and Prejudice elements, and just the whole. It's fun. It was fun. There's not a lot of YA, I think, that is set in like prehistoric. They don't usually, I guess prehistoric's not usually like the most fun to do. So I'm going to move on to another contemporary, guys, and this contemporary, it kind of changed my life a little bit. This is Kids of Appetite by David Arnold, and this was one of those books that like found me at the right moment in my life. So I read it I think just last year, and it's kind of crazy. Vic's father, who's the main character, Vic's father dies, and then Mad, who's another one of the main characters, her uncle is murdered. So it kind of like sets on that. So Vic, his mom is dating again, and he's struggling, and he's just kind of trying to find himself again. So he kind of goes on this journey and finds these other kids, and they call themselves the Kids of Appetite. And a lot of them have really interesting backgrounds. I found them to all be really interesting characters, and it felt kind of like real life. I don't know, it really touched me. Sometimes I have a hard time recommending this one because the language is kind of strong. There are, if I remember right, there's quite a few F-bombs in it. Which, like, for me, when I read, I kind of just gloss over all that. It's not as big of a deal to me, but I know for some people it really bothers them. So there is my disclaimer on this one. Fantastic read. It's one of those that, like, I kind of read it when I was a little bit unhappy, and it was one of those that, like, kind of healed your soul, made you feel like there were good people, even though, sometimes you, like, watch the news and everything, and you start to feel like everything is awful. And this was one of those books that, like, these kids all had really bad things happen to them, but they kind of band together and help each other. So Kids of Appetite by David Arnold. He also wrote Mosquito Land, which I haven't read yet, but I've heard it's fantastic. So this one, seriously, I would recommend. It does have a few F-bombs in it if you're sensitive to that. But guys, seriously, some of these are some of my favorite books. Okay, so we've moved on to Court of Fives by Kate Elliott. I think the best way to classify this book is like not medieval, like Mediterranean, like Julius Caesar type times meets American Ninja Warrior. So Jess is this awesome character there's two main classes in the town, like the upper class and the lower class, and they are, they're different races and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that tension comes into play. Well, her parents are of the different races, and they can't actually be married because that's against the law. But her dad has been very faithful to her mom, and all of a sudden things change, and they're basically left destitute. And there's like these gladiator type and American Ninja Warrior type games that Jess really wants to be a part of, and so she decides to go ahead and she's going to be a part of these to that's what she wants to do. She's going to train. So she trains and seriously, like, you watch these, you read about these courses and stuff like that, and it's so, it's like, seriously, I found it just about the time we got into American Ninja Warrior, so it was like super fun to read this. So this is also a trilogy. The second one is out, so Court of Fives and The Poison Blade, and then I can't remember what the third one is, but it comes out in July, so I'm super excited about that. I was really worried about the second book. I can't remember why. This ends on a pretty big cliffhanger, I think. So I was really worried about the second book, and it took me a long time to read it after it came out because I was so worried about what was going to happen. And the second book did not. I don't know if you guys read a lot of trilogies. I always feel like there's second book syndrome where they're trying to set up so much for the third book that the second book is kind of awful. But this did not suffer from second book syndrome at all. This is a great one. So this is Court of Fives by Kate Elliott. So I have to share one of my very favorite reads from last year. This is Illuminae. And this, seriously, it's got the coolest. I have to show you just the hardcover. It's got the coolest cover. So basically what happens is there's this big disaster on... Oh, and this one, guys, if you're going to read this one, I had a friend try to read it on her Kindle, and she read it on her Kindle, and I had a friend listen to an audiobook version of it. And they both hated the book. And I could not figure out how you could hate this book. It's fantastic. And, like, we were friends who had pretty similar tastes and everything like that, so I was so confused as to how they could hate this book. And I realized it was because that they had read it on a Kindle, or they had read it on, or they had listened to it. And, like, it is such a, let me see if I can find, so things are written in memos, and they're, when you get further down the book, they're written in like crazy patterns. And the formatting of this book is so important to the story. I mean, it's not like they're just formatting the book for kicks. Like, it's so, like, look at this. Like, they draw pictures with words and things like this. So yeah, Lorena's saying that she thinks the formatting was so important. Like, seriously, I had a friend who listened to it and hated it because you miss so much of the story if you lose the formatting. So I haven't even really talked about what it's about yet, but there you go. That's like, if you're going to read this, you need to get your hands on a hard copy of the book. So basically, a big disaster happens on a planet, and it's not a natural disaster. Basically, the planet's attacked, and this company has attacked it, and there's been an intelligence company has gone through, and they're collecting all these files about what's happened, so the company can make sure that their liability looks minimal, basically. So, but it happens in space. It's super cool. I actually haven't read the second one. It's been Gemini has been sitting on my, is that what it's called? Gemini? Is it like Illuminate? It's sitting on my bookshelf, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I actually it's kind of crazy. I actually read books for a book subscription box. So a lot of times when it's my month to be reading for them, like that's all I do is read books for them. So I don't have time. Sometimes I don't have time to get to my other ones. So Illuminate is super, super good. Sci-fi, space, really clever. I thought the end was very clever. Just the whole story was very clever. So that's Illuminate. Let me see. So here's Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton, and she is super cute in person too. I really enjoyed meeting her a while back. So it's kind of like, I think the best way to describe this is Old West, like the Wild Wild West meets Arabian Nights. So it's kind of everything like shooting contests and that whole Western feeling, but all taking place in like the Middle East. So I think one of the reasons I loved this book, guys. The second one is out. I'm not driving, Alice. I'm just sitting in my car. Alice wants to know where my seatbelt is. I'm not actually driving. I'm just sitting. See, I'm actually sitting. You can see my steering wheel. I'm sitting in the driver's seat, but I'm not actually driving. We are actually I'm in the parking lot for the aquarium. My kids are in the aquarium with their grandparents right now, and I didn't want to miss it. So, but this is my scheduled time that I come live. So I'm just sitting in my car doing my live, and then I'm going to go back into the aquarium with my kiddos. So this was Rebel of the Sands is probably it was probably one of my favorite reads from 2016 because it was so different. I feel like sometimes we get, we get into fairy tale retellings, which I love. I love fairy tale retellings. Ivory and Bone, I guess that's not fairy tale, that's classic retelling, but let's see. Flame in the Mist was a fantastic one from this year. That's retelling of Mulan. I love fairy tale retellings. But sometimes I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want to be really surprised, and I want something really original, and I felt like Alwyn Hamilton really came up with something really original in Rebel of the Sands. So this was probably one of my very, very, very favorite reads from last year. And just look at that cover art too. Seriously, I know it's backwards for you guys. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to flip it. But this I just thought this one was fantastic. The second one is out. I haven't had a chance to read it yet because, like I told you, I read for a book subscription box. So sometimes I am reading a lot of that stuff, which is really fun because I get to read all of the new releases that are just haven't come out yet. So sometimes I feel like sometimes I would be like, I love this one, and people are like, I haven't heard of that. I'm like, oh well, it doesn't come out until next month. That's why you haven't heard of it. So yeah, so this is I love retellings, but I love something that's really original. And I felt like Rebel of the Sands was, and maybe it's just because I haven't read a lot of, I actually read a lot of stories set in the Mideast last year. I think there's a lot of that coming out. I have another one in my bag that is set in that area too. So, but Rebel of the Sands, super creative, super interesting, and it totally helps that the author is super, super cool too. She's so nice, guys. I met her at a signing this last year, and she was so kind. So another one of my favorites, guys, they're all my favorites. I love them all. They're all such fantastic ones. So this one is Grave Mercy, and this one is basically they're nun assassins. Does it get more exciting than nun assassins? So the 3 main characters, so it's a trilogy, but each book is about a different one of the main characters. So you get all of their backstory and, you know, mostly all about them in that one book, but you also see peeks of them in the other books. Because when I finished Grave Mercy, I was like devastated that the next book wasn't about the main character. Which one is the main character in this one? I don't remember. Ismay. That's right. Ismay is the main character in Grave Mercy, and then Sabella is the main character in Dark Triumph, which is the next one. And I just remember, like, when I finished Grave Mercy, I was like, how can the next one not be about Ismay? How is it about this side character? And then I read Dark Triumph, and it's just phenomenal. So it works really well to have each of her stories about one of the main characters. So they are nuns. They live in a convent, but they worship death. Like, I don't know if you say they worship. They believe that their, like, father is death, if that makes any sort of sense. So, yeah, it's really fantastic. So they believe that they believe that death marks people. Usually I think it's on their forehead or something. They get a mark, and then once death has okayed them to die, then they're the assassin who kills them. So it's really fascinating, kind of in like medieval times with castles and lords and ladies and kings and queens and that kind of thing, and then the assassins with the nuns. And Ismay's really fascinating because she is like super amazing at poison and stuff like that. But the whole, you know, it's all really fascinating. So Dark Triumph, oh, Lorena's just saying what I was about to say. Dark Triumph is definitely a heavier book. Like, it's weightier. A lot of really bad things happen to that main character, who's Sabella. So it's a lot heavier. So if this one, I feel like you could hand to, you know, almost middle grade and it would be okay. But, you know, Dark Triumph is one of those that if you're going to let your like older tween or younger teen read it, you might want to read it first, because, you know, Sabella goes through some hard things in her life. So that is the series is called His Fair Assassins. Grave Mercy is just the first one. So Grave Mercy, Dark Triumph, and then I don't remember what the last book is called. The last book is good. It's not my favorite. I think Grave Mercy and Dark Triumph are my favorites, but let me see if I can move some of these books back into my bag so I have room. Ooh, I love these books, guys. And I love meeting authors. It's like one of my things. I love going to signings, which my husband thinks is so weird that I love going to signings, but it's so much fun, I think, to meet authors and find out some of their motivations for books and things like that. Okay, let me get some of my room back here. And I am a book hoarder. I love to buy books. I actually was going through my Amazon history today when I was looking to put some, you know, to figure out what books I should do and everything like that. And I actually haven't bought like books in like a year and a half. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy for me. Okay, so let's go. Let's go on to Mortal. Oh, Lorene says Mortal Heart is the third one in the My Fair Assassins trilogy. It makes me feel better that you had to look it up too, Lorene. Like, I could not remember what that last one was. And do you remember what the last girl's name is? I don't remember what her name is either. So Red Queen, this series is not finished yet, which, like, I was so irritated. So I thought it was a trilogy. And I think it was meant to be a trilogy, but then she decided towards the end that it needed a fourth book. So when I got the third book on my porch, I was so excited to read it, and then I found out it wasn't the last book, and I was so irritated I didn't read it yet. I hate sometimes when you love a series so much, I hate reading I hate being left on a cliffhanger, you know. I remember when I read The Hunger Games, I actually didn't read, I read the first Hunger Games, and then I read Catching Fire about a week before Mockingjay came out, and I was like dying. And we lived in this teeny, so Where I live now, if a book's really popular, you can usually go get it at midnight. Well, we lived in this little teeny tiny like remote Texas town at the time, and I was calling everywhere, and like no one even had it in stock. They're like, I think we'll get it at the end of the week, and it was very depressing. So anyway, so this is Red Queen. So this is another, this is, you know, kind of like Court of Fives, where I've told you that there's 2 different classes. I feel like, I'm trying to remember if they're different races. I think most of their differences comes down to their blood. Hi Paige, nice to see you. We're talking my favorite YA books. So Red Queen, basically, the big difference is their blood. So the lower class has red blood, like, you know, we do. The upper class has silver blood. And the thing that makes their silver blood, so it's not just their blood that's awesome, is usually that comes with their silver blood is they are, they have some sort of gift or ability. And so, basically, like, these, you know, they use their gifts and their abilities. You know, some of them have like gifts of electricity, or, you know, they can control different things, and they use these abilities basically for evil to rule the people with the red blood. So then come to find out through a series of events that Mare, who's the main character, who has red blood, like when they have like their identification cards, they have like a little sample of their blood on it so they can see. So Mare has red blood, but she also has an ability, and that kind of like you know, puts the world on its end. And the rulers with the silver blood don't want anyone to know that a red blood has an ability, because then that would help them like lose control of everything. So they decide to pretend like she has silver blood. So she's like brought into the palace and everything like that. They're going to pretend that she's got silver blood. So, but honestly, you know, she does have red blood, and she's been mistreated her whole life. So it's kind of interesting where that goes. So this is really, really good. It is on its 3rd book. There's one more coming out. I'd look it up for you, but my phone is what I'm using to film this. So I'm not sure when the next one comes out, but this is a fantastic series. If you like kings and queens and magical abilities and things like that, I think you'll love this one. So on to one of my very, very, very favorite series of all time. I recommend this all the time, and I can't even tell you how many people I've gotten addicted to this series. It's so fantastic. It's a retelling, but it's super fun retelling. So this is Cinder by Marissa Meyer, who is also a fantastic author, super funny. And this is Cinder, and she is, it's a retelling of Cinderella, and she's a Cinderella cyborg. So I think her arm and one of her legs, I know one of her legs and foot is, you know, metal, and her arm and stuff like that. So basically, we sent people to the moon, and the moon is now inhabited, but living on the moon changed them, and they have this gift to manipulate and, you know, make people see what they want to see now. And so basically the Lunars are now trying to, you know, there's a really nasty queen that's the Lunar, and she's trying to overtake the Earth. Well, there's this rumor that her niece has survived, and stuff like that. So Cinder is on the lookout for this niece that could possibly overthrow the queen. So the first book is Cinder, and then the second book is Scarlet, which is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, which is super fun. And then the next one is, what's after Scarlet, guys? Cress, which is a retelling of I was gonna say Tangled, guys. Rapunzel. There you go. That's what Disney's done to me. I think Tangled instead of Rapunzel. So there is Cress, which is a retelling of Rapunzel, which is super fun because I love Cress because she is like, instead of being locked in a tower, she's locked into a satellite that's floating around the Earth. So I think that one's really fun. And then Winter, which is a retelling of Snow White. And they all kind of, and then there's Stars Above, which is like a book of short stories, but it's really important to the series. You've got to finish it. So, can you see her little cyborg and her foot there? So, I love Cinder. I love the main characters in this one. I love Cinder. I love her little robot. She just released a graphic novel of the little robot. It's called Wires and Nerves, and I bought that too. I'm excited to get to that one. Is her name Iko? Is that the robot's name? Is that how you say it? I know that's her name. It's like Iko, but I'm not sure exactly how you say it. So that's, seriously guys, this is probably one of my all-time favorite series. It's so hard to put down. Scarlet's probably my least. I'm trying to think if Scarlet's my least favorite. I love Cress. Scarlet's not my least favorite character. It's my least favorite book out of the series, but they're all so good. And, yeah, they're all fantastic. So, and she's like the cutest author. Like, she signed, it says Once Upon a Future, Joyce Meyer. She's super cute. And then, let's see, I've got 3 more books for you guys. So, this one is City of Bones, which is the Mortal Instruments Shadowhunters. So, it's basically Clary Frey is just living in New York, and she just discovers that there's this whole other world of vampires and werewolves and demons and, you know, things like that. And then Clary's mother disappears, and she kind of gets thrown with the other shadow hunters to try and figure out what happened. And, you know, she discovers this whole past and, you know, everything like that. So it's kind of interesting. Often people will read the first one, I think maybe the first 2, and then they get a little weirded out. There's a kind of a weird storyline going on in the background, but if you get weirded out by that storyline, keep going. It resolves and it's fine, and you know. So but there's 6 books in the Mortal Instruments series, and then there's 3, like, they're not really, I mean, they're set before, they're not really prequels. You get to see some of that information, but they're set a lot before. They're set like in the early 1900s. So those are the Infernal Devices series. That's Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess, and I actually think those are my favorite. You really need to read Mortal Instruments to understand the Infernal Devices, but I think Infernal Devices are my favorite. The Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess, they're really good. If you've seen this movie and have not read the books, ignore the movie and go back to the books, as you should with, you know, most, especially Ella Enchanted. People who judge Ella Enchanted on the movie just make me sad. But I feel like these are, I mean, there's that whole element of vampires and demons and, you know, I don't think goblins is the right word. It's been a while since I've read them, but basically, like, the shadow hunters are warriors who are trying to protect the rest of the world from these people and these, like, other things. And yeah, it's fun. It's seriously fantastic. I really enjoy these ones, except my very favorite character is from the Infernal Devices. I just love him. So super fun, super good read. There is a new series out. I actually haven't started that one yet, because I know I get sucked into these series, and then I can't put them down. I have to keep going. I have one series. I didn't bring any of those. That's it's the Bulgariad, and there's 5 in that series, and then there's a follow-up series called the Malorian that features a lot of the same characters. And every time I start that series, my husband's just like, see you in a week, because I'm just going to read all 13 books straight through because I love them so much. So that's how this series is. Like, there's 6 in Mortal Instruments and then 3 in the Infernal Devices, and I keep thinking, like, I need to reread those, but I know if I reread them, I will just, like, disappear for a week. So I keep putting it off a little bit. So this is another favorite. I think, you know, I talk about this series and people always get the, like, it's not like Twilight. You know, I'm like, no, it's not like Twilight. Like, guys, you gotta give it a chance. So this is Vampire Academy. It is a set of vampires, and they go to a school. And it's like, it's not Hogwarts for, it kind of is Hogwarts for vampires, but, like, so it's like a school for, you know, people that are vampires and everything like that. And Rose is who's the main character. She is not a vampire. She's half vampire, half human. Or half Dahamper. And so she doesn't need blood to live, and but she's strong and fast and everything like that. So they use them as protectors, because the vampires in the series are not the bad vampires, but there are a set of bad vampires that want to kill the good vampires. I know, a little bit confusing. It's not so confusing once you start reading it. So Rose is of the race that is like supposed to protect the good vampires and stuff like that. So you see a lot of her training. You see a lot of them, like, you know, all the different things they do to train them, to make them strong and fast and everything like that. And then you also, you know, in later books especially, you'll get to see them fight vampires and stuff like that. And you'll just, yeah, it's really fun. She's a kick-butt heroine. She's really, like, really all sorts of awesome. And then one of her teachers is named Dimitri, and he's all sorts of awesome. And, you know, he's like this Russian cowboy, which, you know, just is kind of fun. So that is Vampire Academy. There are 6 of those. So there's 6 Vampire Academy. And then there's a follow-up series, which you see Rose and Dimitri and stuff like that in a little bit, but it's really focused on kind of smaller characters in the first series. Not tiny characters, just a little bit, you know, side characters and stuff like that. So it's focused on those ones in the second series, and that's Bloodlines, and there's 6 of those. And she just released some awesome short stories, which is in the back of this one, which I adore. You know, something that is fun. It's fun to get into Rochelle Mead's books, who wrote Vampire Academy and Bloodlines. She also wrote Glittering Court. It's fun to get into her books because she's the kind of person that, like, keeps writing and writing. And just when you, like, she finishes Vampire Academy, you're so sad because it's over. And then she gives you Bloodlines, 6 awesome books of Bloodlines, and then you're so sad because that's over. Now you have 12 books in this universe and you're still sad. And then she starts giving you short stories, and, you know, so she's the author that keeps on giving. So she's really fun to get into her books and stuff like that. So that is Vampire Academy. And then this one, this is The Rose and the Dagger. This is a super fun book because you do not think you could ever like one of the main characters, and then she kind of changes it around so that you do. And so basically what happens is there's this girl in this, like, Middle Eastern village, and the emperor or king or whatever you want to call him is every single night he marries another girl, and in the morning he kills her. And so her best friend, the main character, Shazi, her best friend is chosen to be married to the king and then killed in the morning. And she's furious and, you know, upset that this could happen to her friend. And so she decides that she's going to volunteer to be his bride so that she can kill him first. So that kind of like takes you on that journey of her marrying the king and then her trying to put off him killing her so she can get the upper hand and kill him. So it's a super good series. There's 2 in this. There's Rose and the Dagger, Wrath in the Dawn. And then this author has also wrote another one that's Flame in the Mist, which is a Mulan retelling, which is fantastic. I love that one as well. So, there you go. I'm not even sure how many books that was. Was that 20 or so? Those are 20 great reads for you guys to read this summer. If you're just joining into us, you can share this to your timeline so you can go back and see which books it was, what books there were. And you can go ahead and, I listed some of the books down with Amazon links but I was kind of doing it from memory, so I know I didn't list all of them. But thanks for joining us. I'm going to head back into the aquarium with my kiddos who are with their grandparents, and I will see you later.